I would like to welcome all of you to this session on improving platform resiliency by detecting harmful workloads. My name is Chinmay Sagre. I'm a principal engineer at MasterCard, and my primary focus is to ensure that our big data platform are getting used up to their optimal potential.
Hi everyone, my name is Srinivas Sagajula. I'm Big Data Engineer at MasterCard Technologies.
So today we are going to talk about Hadoop landscape at MasterCard. We are going to talk about some of the problems that we have encountered along the way. Then we will talk about some of the solutions that we have figured out on solving them. Srinivas is going to walk you through a couple of sample implementations of those solutions. And towards the end, we will talk about some of the business values as well as some of the lessons we have learned. Time permits, we will also take some questions towards the end of the session. So we at MasterCard are invested heavily on Hadoop for our big data needs. We started this journey about 10 years back in 2011. And today we have about 7 tenants of varying sizes, and they all serve fundamentally different purposes at MasterCard. The largest cluster that we have today have hundreds of nodes, and we have tens of petabytes of data. It serves thousands of users, and the key characteristics about that cluster is that there are a lot of users that are ad hoc on that platform. So within our users, Impala remains the favorite tool of choice if their workloads are predominantly SQL based. Almost all other use cases are predominantly Spark, and there are a few use cases that users have today. So about the problem itself, in my opinion, ad hoc workloads are like nice way of characterizing applications which has never been seen before on the platform, and their impact is largely unknown. On the other hand, Hadoop was never got a reputation for being user-friendly. So when you combine these two characteristics, that the platform is not user-friendly, and there are a lot of unseen workloads that might potentially be unoptimized, that's a recipe for disaster. And when there are frequent issues on the platform, then users starts to get annoyed because they can't get their productivity fast enough. And if we start to miss SLAs, then the manager starts to panic. And no matter, like as platform administrators, we start to blame like users or the workloads causing these instabilities, right? Nobody's buying it, because at the end of the day, it's platform's owner's responsibility to keep the platform up and running smoothly. And because of this, you will see like a lot of Hadoop admins that I came across have receding hairlines because of the stress that this mix of characteristics are causing. And lastly, when it comes to big data, there are no small mistakes. So even like small issues like somebody not joining the tables properly or not using the filters appropriately can result in like a large side effect on the cluster. They can fill up temporary spaces or disks, or they can clog the network pipes, or even sometimes they can crash like demons, and then that can cause undue effects. So in order to like get and handle on this kind of issues which were causing instability, we divided this problem into two spaces essentially. So what we did was we gave our users a self-serving capability where they can get insights into their own applications and they can optimize their application. So they use Unravel today to do that, and that's helping them, and in turn, like helping us in order to improve the throughput on the cluster. On the other hand, we also wanted our administrators to get some tools and statistics to know like what's actually happening on the workloads, and especially on the outlier applications, which are skewing the resource allocations toward like few applications, and then that are causing like some of the bottlenecks or crashes that we see on the system. So that's what we ended up implementing. And Srinivas is going to walk you through a couple of such sample workload detection that we have implemented. So Srinivas, you can take it away.
Thank you, Chinmay. Hi everyone. I would like to talk about two aspects of the implementation. One is the reporting piece, where we are collecting different metrics from APIs provided by Cloudera. We have Impala API and Yarn API, which we are using to collect application level metrics and queue level metrics and service level metrics. And we are using HDFS metadata, like to collect all the information about the storage of HDFS and tables information from Metastore, and all this information, whatever we collected, we will store that into a centralized database. Once we collect this information, we are using this for analyzing the data and providing different insights about the platform. Like, to give some examples, whatever the metrics we collected by using different metrics, we can use that to identify how many applications overall ran for a particular day or per a quarter, per a month, and then how many of them are succeeded and how many of them are failed. And also we can categorize failures into different buckets, like how many of them are failed with out of memory errors, how many of them failed with syntax errors. A lot of insights we can get from those data, whatever we collected. And using the HDFS metadata, we can see, we can get insights like what is the utilization by each team, the HDFS utilization, and how many of those HDFS directories have small files. So we know a lot of organizations have facing issues with small files. So if we know that, if we get that information and provide them periodically and alert users in advance, then we can make use of the platform effectively without impacting the tables or the applications which are running on top of those. And last but not least, we will also use this information to identify the availability of a particular service, like what is the total availability of particular service and mean time to repair if there is any failures in a service, and mean time between failures. So these are different metrics we can collect, and we will share them with the business holders and users so that they can better understand the platform and use it properly. So that's for the reporting piece based on the data we are collecting, and we can do a lot of things once we collect the data. Second part of this is anomaly detection algorithms. We developed a couple of utilities which will be used to detect the anomalies in the applications while running itself and alert or kill or do whatever the action required at that time, and help to stabilize the platform effectively. So in the next two slides, I'm going to talk about a couple of examples. So basically, the anomaly detection can be done both on Yarn and Impala. But right now, I'm focusing on Impala and provide you two examples where we utilized a couple of metrics we collected to detect problematic workloads and how we mitigate those. In my next slide. Okay, so this is regarding Impala large broadcast joins. When Impala by default provide a couple of performance tuning techniques. One is compute stats. If we provide compute stats for each table in advance, Impala is able to identify whether a particular table should be broadcasted or shuffled, or how it can filter the data properly to optimize the performance of a query. But if the compute stats are not available, the second approach is to providing the hints. If we know that a particular table is small enough, we can provide hints in the query itself saying that broadcast this particular table, or if the table is large, we can provide saying shuffle this particular table, so that Impala can do the proper join criteria and efficiently run the query. But being Impala used by a lot of ad hoc users, Sometimes users simply run the query without providing the hints, and they will go and do some other work instead of waiting or monitoring the query. So that's where the problem starts. So assume that a user submit a query without providing any hints, and the query is trying to broadcast a large table. What will happen is it will end up running continuously for longer time, and eventually it may fail. So it's waste of resources, and also not only for the user, but also it will affect the entire platform scalability as well. So how we are avoiding these situations? So when the query starts running, we quickly able to identify these issues, and if we are able to alert the user, we'll save the platform and also the help users to run queries properly, efficiently. I'm discussing here one simple example, and explain the utility, how we are using it to better use of the platform. So here I am running a query which I am joining employee table with the department table, and I am providing a hint saying that department table should be broadcasted. So when I start running this query, Impala generates a query plan as below mentioned. So it has different blocks, and each block talks about a particular operator. So in the above query, we are reading two tables. One is employee and another one is the department table. So the first operator, the scan HDFS, is reading employee table, and it is of size 17 GB. And second operator is another scan HDFS, and it is reading department table, which is of 20 MB. Then the third operator is exchange, that is broadcasting the department table to all the nodes wherever the employee table is being read. And the fourth operator is performing the hash join between employee and department table, and it is performing the broadcast join. This is a perfect example of a optimized query, and the Impala is able to run properly. In case if we don't provide these hints, and if we are joining not with the department table but some other table which is very large, and if the stats are not available, what Impala tries to do is it will by default try to broadcast that particular table, and then the issue starts. So how we are going to help, or how we are going to detect these and alert users? So whenever the query starts running, we will take the query plan and build a tree structure of that query plan. So in the right section, we can see a tree structure visually, how we are building a query plan based on the dependencies. So we can see here the scan HDFS employee table and department table, both are independent operators. They don't have any more dependencies. And then the next operator, exchange broadcast, dependent on scan HDFS of department table. And the last operator, 04, which is a hash join, it depends on 00 and 02 eventually, because those two are the tables being joined. So once we pass through the plan and build a tree structure like what we are showing here, the next step we are doing is we are traversing the tree using DFS algorithm. And when we traverse the tree, what we collect is wherever we find scan HDFS operator, we will capture the table along with the size. And whenever we hit a particular hash join operator, we'll validate whether it is doing shuffle join or broadcast join. In case if the operator is doing broadcast join, that is where we will identify if we will validate if both the tables are having proper sizes. Like if it is doing broadcast join, the right table should be under a particular threshold. If it is not meeting that particular criteria, or if it is violating that condition, then we are capturing that as a anomaly in the query, and we will capture the table along with the size, and we will continue to traverse the plan until we reach the root. So once we are able to traverse the entire plan and identify all the tables along which are having anomalies, we'll send an email to user saying that these are the list of tables which are violating the conditions, and we will ask him to take necessary actions like tuning the query and resubmitting again. So this is not only useful for broadcast joins, but also we can use it for shuffle joins. Suppose if any table which is small is being shuffled instead of being broadcasted, that also we can alert users and we will ask him to make changes and submit the query. This will help us to run the queries faster and make the Impala available for a lot of users to run and utilize it properly. So that is one example. And the second one is detecting cross joins in queries. So when the query is running, user doesn't know if it has duplicates or if it is doing inner join or cross join because of duplicates. So if users are not paying attention, then and if the query has duplicates in the join condition, the data will generate exponentially and cause the issues to entire Impala platform. That is where this second example will help us to avoid those. So when the query is running, it will generate not only the plan, but also it will generate the summary stats for each operator, whatever is being involved in that particular query. So we can see here, there are a couple of operators and number of hosts that particular operator ran, and the average time each operator took to perform the operation, and maximum time, and also the number of rows the particular operator produced, and estimated number of rows and peak memory, like how much memory that particular operator utilized. So we can utilize these stats to identify a couple of things. One is we can traverse to this summary stats and identify if it is a CPU bound or IO bound. What I mean to say is if it is taking more time in scan HDFS, then we can say it is mostly taking time to read the data, and it is mostly having some issues in IO bottlenecks. And if it is taking more time in compute, then we can treat that as a CPU bound and maybe some skew joins or something. So we can take a look at those. And second part of this is the number of rows. That is where we can see if it is doing inner join or cross join. So let us go through this example. The first operator, scan HDFS, which is producing 3.79 million records, and the second, scan HDFS 01, is producing 57.22k records, and the next operator, hash join, is a join between these two tables, and that is producing 144.87k records, which is below the threshold. I mean to say the number of rows read by scan HDFS is at max 3.7 million records, and the number of rows produced by a particular hash join is 144k, which is less than 3.7 million. So this is performing a inner join. In case if it is performing cross join, the number of rows produced by hash join will grow exponentially and cross beyond 3.7 million records which are being produced by a particular operator or particular table. So that is where the cross join cause problems. So how we are identifying and mitigating those in advance. So the table in the bottom left is showing the metrics what we periodically can collect at different intervals. So the first column will show the query ID, which is being running right now, and second column will show the time index, a particular interval of time at we are collecting this particular metric, and the third column will show the ratio of scan versus hash rows. How many rows are being produced by hash join and how many rows are being read by scan at max a particular scan HDFS operator. So that ratio should be at max 1.0. If it is crossing 1.0, then we can say that the hash join have some duplicates and the data is growing little bit. And we can see the same in the example. I will show in the graph on the right side. This is a Plotly graph we are building while the queries are running. And this graph will update dynamically based on the interval of the time we are collecting the metrics on the left side. And this graph will show if a query is producing the rows linearly or non-linearly. And the third query, which is a green which is a green line, showing that the data is being ballooned up or growing exponentially, because that is doing a cross join. So we can identify these cross joins in advance, and we can immediately raise an alert to user saying that this particular query is doing a cross join instead of inner join, and we will ask user to take necessary actions. We can kill the query on our side without waiting if it crosses a particular threshold like 2 or 2.5, and send an alert asking user to validate and remove the duplicates in his query. So this will help us to reduce the number of resources being utilized by a bad query, and also able to help make the Impala platform stable. So these are the two widely used algorithms we developed here and using them efficiently, and they are being effectively used right now.
So as soon as we started to implement the system, we saw an immediate positive impact on the platform, because a lot of applications were wasting resources, and now these resources were available for other platforms to consume. So the entire of the cluster up. And while we started, important that it sort of gave the time back to our administrators, which were spent in like firefighting all these issues, and now they can spend this time in doing value-added activities, or even like toil removal activities. And most importantly, this gave earlier when the resources were skewedly and to be very high. And once we were able to like have a more true representation, and now we actually know like how much capacity we need to serve our applications. Lastly, some of the lessons that we have learned. Initially, when we rolled out these restrictions, we were anticipating a pushback from our users, because we were killing their production applications at the end of the day. But it turns out that they overwhelmingly supported the initiatives, and because they were able to see the activity when the platform resiliency and availability improved. Also, what we have learned is like providing enough notice and documentation about these rules really help. So what we typically end up doing is we start to roll out these rules, but initially they will just send alerts, and before like a month or even sometimes 2 months before, we start to send out identifying these applications, and then send alerts to the user saying that okay, these are the issues with your application, and then if you don't want to get your applications impacted, then you should take preventive measures beforehand. One more important thing is that these restrictions should be used as a last resort, because first of all, right? And if you start to kill a lot of applications, then from the users, the system is still unstable because their applications are still getting impacted. It doesn't matter whether that was due to the platform issues itself or whether that was due to an administrative action. Overall, I think these rules are there to protect the platform, but their usage should be not misdirected. So with that, I would like to end the session, and then we can take any questions that you might have.